My name is Charlie Schroeder, and I live at 10 Wall Drive here in Mason City. And just kind of let you know where I'm coming from. I'm a father, grandfather, a retired service member, teacher, and a taxpayer. And I'm here tonight to kind of keep from rambling. I kind of took some notes here. I'd rather read off those. I'll need my glasses to do so. So please bear with. I'm here tonight to assure that our public employees and officials act in a responsible way and assume responsibility. Until now, my wife and I have not wanted to embarrass the police and have tried to work through channels. For months after the incident that I'm going to tell you about, I was too outraged to deal with it in any way but through my councilman. My efforts so far have been in vain. So I will now read basically the email that I sent to a councilman, and as you listen, imagine your own loved one in the same situation and how you might feel. So this is back on August 7th, and as I said, a little outraged at the time, so I tried to deal with it in passive ways, and go through my councilman, talk to the police captain about this, police captain McKelvey, I think is his name. On August 7th, my wife was bicycling on the city bike path that's here by the dorms, and she was headed west. It was about 9 o'clock in the morning. I wasn't there with her. She was coming around the corner, and suddenly in front of her, about 20 to 25 feet, she estimates, was a police car on the bike path. No lights were on, no siren. All right? Supposedly answering a call about a cow on the loose. It turned out there was no cow on the loose later on, because two NIAC employees showed up almost immediately after the accident, right, and saw what had happened. So, you know, my wife's choices were either plunge into the lake or smack into the hillside, the prairie area there, or hit the brakes like practically anyone would. And when it's panic, she hit both brakes and she crashed. Right? And the officer called an ambulance when she was unable to stay standing. Right? She basically passed out, tried to get up, passed out. I do have some pictures I'll pass around of my wife. She doesn't want this made public yet anyway. As I say, we're not trying to embarrass the police or anything, you know, just trying to get some responsibility assumed here. All right, so the ambulance was called, and the ambulance driver refused to drive on the bike path. All right, which makes sense. So the officer took my wife in the patrol car up to the dorms, you know, and there was the waiting ambulance. And there were no broken bones. She was wearing a helmet. Okay? So if she hadn't been, I don't know, she'd be here today. She also has some very deep bruising, as you can see in the pictures. Right? She had deep bruising on her face, her wrists. It's amazing she didn't break both wrists, you know, the way she went down on the pavement. And as you can see in the picture, right, large patches of skin torn on her knee, and she'll have permanent scars from those. Now, any reasonable person would expect a bike on a bike path. You know, that's reasonable. Not expect a patrol car, especially one that doesn't have lights on, no siren on, and chasing a cow that isn't there. So we assume the city would take proper responsibility for its employees' action and pay for medical costs, new eyeglasses, and repairs to her bike. It has not. Right? So waited, you know, and then we've sent the information into our own insurance companies to see about payment. The response has been that the police car has the right to be there, which may be true, but reasonable people would also have taken proper precautions so as not to jeopardize a human being in the quest of a cow. All right, I told the captain, Captain McKelvey, that I grew up on the farm and we didn't chase cows with cars. All right, we get off our butts and we walk, we chase after them on foot. That's what people do with cows. My wife was so traumatized by the events, not only because of the pain, you know, of the incident, but our son died this summer in a motorcycle accident, very similar circumstances. There were policemen almost immediately on the spot that almost ran over him as his motorcycle crashed. He had a neck brace put on his neck, and my wife, the minute they put that on her neck, she lost it. She just lost it, totally broke down. And you know, there's just other similarities to our son's accident. So it was just, you can imagine my outrage. I lose my son, and I almost lose my wife because of some idiot. You know. So I was not there at the time, as I said, right? When we asked later to see the police report, I was outraged by its half-truth. And I have have that police report here. This is what it says. A female subject fell off her bike and struck her head while riding on the bike trail. It says nothing about the police car being on the trail. Okay? And how received? By radio, which was ridiculous. The police car was there, you know, so it's not totally lying, but it's the half-truth. You have to admit, right? That's ridiculous. So, yes? Okay. So anyway, we have the medical bills here. I expect my city to assume its responsibility for this accident. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
I love this microphone and podium because we don't communicate at all, really, amongst us ourselves, really at all. And when we do, it's either letters or emails, or we just talk to one another. So anyway, we got an email about the library, the location of the stage and stuff. I think we all got that email. I just want to get on the same page because I know what can happen. Before we know it, you know, I'll give you a good example. In February, I complained about needing a policy only about our mailboxes. Who can go back there? I said, hey, hand them off to the city clerk, assistant city clerk, and blah, blah, blah. Next thing I know, someone else complains. Next thing we know, we got doors and locks on there, and 6 of them came off, or 5 of them came off. Well, the library, we've been told by one of the board members, maybe you want to move the stage because of this, security. Here's where I'm at. No, we talked about it. That door needs to be locked. It's not a social gathering, the council meeting, so get your coffee and donuts beforehand, and then we'll lock that door. We don't need to spend money, put the stage over somewhere else. So I hope we're all getting on the same page with Brent. Let him know how you feel about it. I don't know what kind of response he's gotten. The other one, the pit bull issue. A couple years ago I brought up a solution. I hope you look at it again. I don't know if it's legal or not. I would assume it is, an ordinance. If you have a felony conviction, you can't license a certain kind of dog in the community. Or if you have a felony conviction living at that address, you can't have one of those dogs licensed in the community. Personally, that would take about 98% of the troubled dogs out of the streets. So I'd like that. I don't want to ban anything. The other thing, the assessments downtown. The mayor asked me 3 weeks ago where I was going with that. What was I going to do? Was I going to bring it forward? You know, Mayor, I'm getting my fact finding. I'm getting my information. They're not being charged with those assessments for probably 1.5 years, 2 years, whatever it is. But I understand today that there's another party or another group in town that we probably got familiar with that are going to look into it. Whether they lobby us or whether they're going to pony up money, I don't know. But I've heard from 5 people, and I've been waiting to hear from others. We've had a store closure, so that's what that's all about. So if there's somebody else that's going to come out, Mayor, maybe you should give us a memo on it. The other thing is, I want to make the record clear tonight to you. The Globe Gazette said I voted in favor of the last thing, and when I voted no, what the rest of you, the Globe said I did. You know, that was a lie. I don't know how they recanted it or where they put it. If they do the normal thing, it's a little sentence. So the clarification is your paper screwed up. And tonight I want to make it very clear that my vote tonight was to strengthen the zoning ordinance. I had a conversation back there. They said, yeah, if we want to make the zoning area smaller even for adult uses, we can. You guys want to leave it as is. I just assume you bring back another one and make it even tighter. I'm okay with that. I went through this thing once. I'm not going to be a hypocrite about it. If we can make it down to 40 square feet, let's do it. That's your call right there. 5-1 vote tonight. You got to write about that. Anyway, the other thing I want to talk about, Mr. Schroeder. He emailed a couple council members. I think he went to another one first, and I got it. I looked at it. What I did was I had my whole family review it. I said, here, I got a little assignment here. Let's all read this, and we'll talk about it. Don't tell how you feel about it. We read the email, and we all had the same conclusion. We wrote it down on a piece of paper, what we would do. What's the responsible thing to do with the facts that we had. I would hope you share those emails with the rest of the council. I'm all for helping them out. We have another fund, an insurance fund, isn't it, Brent, called the tort fund for liability we can tap into and help pay. I don't know if we've ever done that before. I don't know if another council member's ever done that before. But I think this is clearly a time when we need to pay $8,000, is it $8,000? $4,000 in medical bills. $4,000. I rode that trail 3-4 dozen times this year. I would never assume there would be a police car or any kind of vehicle on there. Maybe the sign needs to read not just bike trail, but an occasional maintenance and emergency vehicle maybe. I definitely feel that 3 other council members here, I'm looking right at you, if we direct Brent Trout we'll tap into that fund and pay his bills. I think it's the right thing to do. So, thank you.
Dave Gilbert, 1715 Hillcrest Drive. Max, since you have an issue with me about grass, what's the point? I think you should do your job and leave the gallery alone. I don't speak when you're making childish and abusive and disruptive criticism.